Welcome to the Apartment Guys, where we dive deep into all things multifamily investing. Our mission is to educate, inspire, and empower real estate investors to reach their highest potential. Each week, host Tate Seymour interviews high-level guests from all over the industry who are sure to bring valuable, actionable ideas that will propel your career to the next level. Whether you're just starting out or a seasoned investor, you are in the right place. And now your host, the Apartment Guy, Tate Seymour.
Welcome, everybody, to the Apartment Guys and Gals today. It's the Apartment Guys, Gals episode, and I love it when I get to have powerful, successful women on the show with me, and today is definitely no exception to that. We have Camilla Jeffs with us, and we are going to talk about raising capital and breaking into this business through that avenue, through raising capital and being a capital raiser. But first, with Camilla, I just want to say welcome. Thanks for being on the show.
Thanks so much, Tate. So happy to be here.
Oh, it's awesome. And full disclosure to listeners, Camilla and I and our team and one other set of partners just closed a deal yesterday in Oklahoma City, as a matter of fact. And we didn't really plan on, we didn't look at the calendar and say, okay, we're going to close this deal in Oklahoma City, 192 units on this date. And then we're going to do a podcast and talk about it the next day. But it just kind of happened that way. So, and this is, and it leads right into what we're going to talk about because, Camilla basically participated as a partner with us, with Greenlight, and with one other group, and was involved in the capital raising aspect of the deal and of the project, in addition to other aspects of the project as well. And so it's really fun to get to talk to you on the show about that a little bit. But first, before we get into that, tell the listeners just a little bit about you and kind of your backstory and how you got to doing your first deal in December last year and rocking and rolling now.
Yeah. So, Tate, I've been in real estate a long time. It makes me feel old to say I've been in real estate about 19 years, but but I started out really young. So does that count?
I can relate. Totally relate to that. Yep.
Yeah. So I started out really young.
That does count.
Just house hacking at first, then did the live and flip method where we went and we bought a house. We moved in a junky home and then we'd fix it up while we lived there. So always lived in a construction mess. I think there's this funny ideal you have in your head of people who own a lot of real estate. You're like, man, they must live in the most amazing places. We did not. We did not live in the most amazing places. We got to the point now where we do have a nice home, but prior to this home, it was always just junky houses that we lived in. We made them nice, and then we moved out and let someone else live in the nice place. But it is actually a good strategy to acquire homes when you're young and you don't have any money. And so that was our strategy of choice. But a couple of years ago, I was getting tired of all doing everything myself because I was the landlord, I was the lawnmower, I was the maintenance, we're just doing everything ourselves. Along with my husband. And then we decided this is just too much. It was way too much. I have 5 children. So there was a lot going on in our lives. And I was trying to figure out, well, I'd really like to buy an apartment complex, because if I could buy an apartment complex and get a lot of doors under one roof, that would be amazing, right?
Let's just stop for a second. Because you just went from saying, number one, you had 5 kids. And in the very next sentence, you said, and I thought to myself, I'm going to buy an apartment complex. And what I want to point out to listeners is that's so the word I want to use, I don't want to use it in public, but it's just so bomber. It's so great. It's so exciting that you can do something like that and be mom to 5 souls that are depending on you, and you're running a household. And I know that how busy your kids are. Like, that is amazing that you have somehow developed the mindset. You got yourself to the point of being in that big, huge role that is, often very overwhelming to so many parents, but still having the bandwidth mentally and having the space and the real estate between your ears, right? To think big, like really big, like apartment building big. That is so cool to me, Camilla. Like, that's awesome.
Well, thank you. And, if we talk about mindset for a second, I like to think about it as my family is the reason why I do a lot of what I do, right? I mean, I do everything for my kids, and this is no different, right? So I guess I don't feel like it's such a huge thing, but I guess it is, right, a big thing to go after a big asset and to really become a force in the real estate industry. But I think a lot of it is because I wanted to show. I mean, 4 of my children are daughters. And you don't see a lot of women succeeding in the real estate space. Now, over the last year, I've come to know a lot of them, and they are pretty amazing women. And it's been so great to network with them. But there seemed to be a gap to me of women who are really stepping up and doing big things. And I looked at those 4 daughters of mine and thought, man, if I don't do it, they will never know that they can do it also. Right? Because as a parent, you look at your children and you totally want them to go out and go capture your dreams, whatever you're dreaming, honey, just go do it, go do it, go do it. But if they don't see their own parent who is actively in the trenches, right, and going after their dreams and capturing the dreams, I think it's harder for kids to think that they can dream big. And so that's one of my big whys for going after big things.
How old are your girls? Just curious.
They're all teenagers.
Yeah.
Right
See,
now.
And so they're at that age where they're looking around, like, what kind of adult am I going to be in a few years, right? And what do I want to do with my life? And what kind of values do I want to have? And what kind of work ethic do I want to have? And like, what level do I want to play at, right? Like, you've decided to play at a really high level in this commercial residential real estate space that we're in, apartment investing. And that is such a cool example to be setting for your girls. I'm sure they're very proud of you too.
Well, sometimes they are and sometimes they're not.
To some
real
degree,
life.
Right? as much as teenagers can be proud of their parents.
Right.
But no, that's fantastic. So, okay. So I interrupted your story and I can't remember at what point you were, but it was get us to where the point, get us to December of 2020 and how you got to that point.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in early 2019 is when I made the decision that, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to buy an apartment complex. I had no idea how to buy an apartment complex. And I knew that apartment complexes costed millions of dollars. None of my real estate was ever in the millions. So it was a really interesting mindset shift for me to go through from thinking about, 100,000, 500,000 was the biggest property I'd ever purchased to millions of dollars. And then I took a look at my bank account and sure enough, there's not $1 million in there. So I'm thinking, how in the world am I supposed to buy this apartment complex? So I started educating, of course, reading books. I'm an introvert who just loves to read all the books and listening to podcasts. Those were fantastic. So really appreciate people like you who have the bravery to be podcast hosts. That's really helpful for all of us. And realized very quickly that I couldn't do this on my own. That it was going to have to be a completely different business model to purchase apartment complexes than what I had been doing for 15 years. Yeah. That also was a big mindset shift for me because I was panicked a little bit about partnering. And partnering was a hard thing for me. I knew I wanted one, but I'm the type of person that my relationships have to be deep. I can't do lots of shallow relationships. I just need a couple of deep ones. But I didn't know anybody who was buying apartments. In fact, I never networked when I did all of my real estate before. So those whole 15 years, I kind of did it, in hiding. I didn't talk to anybody about it because I didn't have any friends who were interested in real estate and who really even wanted to talk about things like taxes, right? I get all excited. Oh, taxes, and no, they didn't want to talk about that. So I was kind of in this, I was very alone and realizing that I needed to do something. So the first thing I did was I found a meetup to go to, and I attended this meetup, and then I started networking and started talking to people, even though it was hard for me, right? As an introvert to go to a networking event and try and navigate it. But, couple strategies, if your listeners are introverts as well, one of the strategies I used was, set yourself a goal of 3 people. You need to meet 3 people every time you go to a networking event, 3 people. And then if you're still feeling uncomfortable, you can give yourself permission to leave, and it's okay. No shame, no guilt, whatever. You accomplished a goal, right? And got it. So that's what I started doing, is networking. And then the other thing I quickly realized was the value of mentorship in this space, in the apartment space. Because, here's some news. You can't really buy an apartment complex unless you have someone on your team who has already bought an apartment complex. That was crazy to me. I thought even my 15 years of real estate experience didn't matter, even though I had small multis in my portfolio. None of that mattered, because I had never signed on a loan for a large apartment complex. So found the value of mentoring. So as I'm thinking about mentoring, right, I've learned all the different roles I landed on syndication. I like the idea of syndication, of bringing a group of people together to purchase a property. And the 4 roles are acquisition specialist, you have your underwriter, you have your capital raiser, and your asset manager. So as I studied each of those 4 roles, I was trying to figure out, well, which one do my backgrounds and skills, are the best at. Now, of course, I've done real estate, so I've done all 4 for 15 years, but I knew I needed to kind of niche down and pick one and be really good at one. And the one I decided that I was most excited about was raising capital. Now, that's kind of funny for 2 reasons. One, I'd never raised capital before. And 2, again, introverted nature. And people think that raising capital means you have to talk to hundreds and hundreds of people. But as I was learning more about raising capital, I was realizing there's a way to do it online, right? So you can build this online business in order to raise capital that you don't have to go to tons of meetups. You don't have to sponsor all these things. Like, it doesn't have to be this giant extroverted experience in order to raise capital. You can still do it as an introvert and preserve your energy and be okay. And so that's what I did. And so the mentor that I hired was simply a capital raising mentor. So there's lots of different mentoring programs out there. Some are all encompassing. They teach you everything about everything and all the different roles. And of course, you need to know all the different roles. You need to know how to underwrite. You need to know what acquisitions is like. You need to know what asset management happens so that you're not coming into a deal, blind or naive. But I really liked focusing right away on raising capital. And then as I was focused on raising capital and learning all the pieces and started building my business and building in automations and funnels and all the things that go in with like building an online business, I started getting some traction. And then I met a partner who had a deal ready in Arizona. And that's where I lived at the time. And I said, okay, let's partner together. I want to back up, because that's the one that went well. Let's back up one more step, because I met another partner who had a deal, and he was like, okay, Camilla, I want you to come in and raise capital. And I had to tell him, hey, this is my first time. I never raised capital before. So, I think I can get 500,000. Like, that's my goal. I want to hit 500,000, because he said, great. Bring 500,000. You can definitely be part of the deal. And I said, awesome. So I got all excited and I launched the deal to my database, and one person invested. One. And that person invested $50,000. So, everybody who talks about 10xing their goal. Well, I negative 10x'd my goal. One person, and it wasn't enough for me to even be involved in the deal, and just complete failure. Mm-hmm. And I kind of hung my head for a while and thought, is this even really for me? Can I even do this? Because it was so hard to raise capital. Mm-hmm. But what I learned was that I was going about it wrong. I had the wrong mindset. The mindset I had was, I need you, right? It was all about me. Like, I need to prove that I can raise capital. I need to be involved in this deal. It's like I, instead of focusing on the investor and what they need, right? Like, here's the wrong thing to say is, hey, do you want to invest in my deal? Or do you want to give me money to go to buy this apartment complex? That's the wrong thing to say. The right thing to say is, I have an amazing investment opportunity that you really need to look at. And this would be such a great thing for your family. It will create impact for your family. You can get amazing returns, and you don't want to miss out on this, right? So completely shifting the narrative. So investors are excited about it instead of skeptical. Mm-hmm. And that's what made the difference in when I actually got my deal done in December and was able to raise $500,000 for that deal. That made all the difference.
That's awesome. You went from having a mindset of like neediness, and like that's always, people smell that a mile away, right? Like when you're coming from a place of scarcity and like fear and kind of like, I really need this. I need you to help me. Like, that's not a powerful place to come from when you are in fact offering such a powerful opportunity to this person, this investor. And you went from a mindset of need to a mindset of excitement about the deal. And like, you were so excited about it. Like, the language you use were like, you need to take a look at this. This is not something you're going to want to miss out on. Like, that's language of conviction and confidence. And, I just want to say this to like little larger zoomed out context is, I love how you know yourself so well, Camilla, as an introvert, and you've mastered that. Like, you've taken the, that personality type and that personality aspect and almost like flipped it in a way, and are using it powerfully in my opinion. Like, and you're doing powerful things for other people, and you're involved in outreach, but you're doing it authentically. You're doing it your way, and you're doing it with a level of excitement and conviction and confidence now. And that's why you're getting things done, in my opinion. That's super exciting.
Yeah. Thank you. It takes a while to get there, and you really do need to be comfortable with who you are, and also be comfortable with doing things a different way. You don't have to do things the way everybody else does them, because as a capital raiser, I think one thing that's really important to focus on is, who's your ideal investor? Who's the person that would be the most ideal that you would want to work with? Mm-hmm. And once you've identified that would be someone who would connect with you. And then you start speaking to that person, to that one person, and telling them about these amazing opportunities, giving them the education that they need to be able to feel confident to invest into a deal. And once you've identified that, the sky's the limit.
Yeah. And you're a rock star already. And it's like you've done your first album, and you're on your first big tour, and you're going to do lots of albums and tours, I can tell.
That'd be fun. Can I do one in Iceland?
Yes. Yes. There's an entrepreneurial event happening in Iceland next year that I know a little bit about. Yeah.
It's kind of
a
secret, connect on that.
But it's kind of a secret. And if you Yeah. Anyway, it's a secret. But so, and again, like just the way that you've met your challenges with, like a lot of people would look at, look, I'm an introvert. How the heck do you expect me to go out and raise capital? Like that's just remarkable. How you have, you could almost write a book of like the badass introvert. That's what I want. That's the word I wanted to use earlier, and I wasn't going to, but I'm going to use it because it came up again. Like,
well, think about this, Tate. What is the best investment for an introvert? The best way for an introvert to be involved in real estate? It's passive investing.
Passively. Yeah.
Exactly. Right. Bingo. And so that's the other thing that I just get excited about, and I just can't stop smiling and talking about, is because my fellow introverts, I'm so excited to bring them in and to get them involved in real estate, because I know a lot of them are out there that want to be involved in real estate, but they are so held back by the fact that they're thinking, I have got to call all these brokers. I have to go hunt and find this deal. I have to be this crazy maniac negotiator. And it's just way too far out of your comfort zone. Because here's the things about comfort zones. I live just barely outside my comfort zone most of the time. I don't go, I don't take massive action and do all these like giant things way out of my comfort zone, because it leaves me just full on depleted. I take the small steps outside my comfort zone. And then the cool thing is that my comfort zone just continues to grow a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more at a time. And I keep myself whole too.
That is cool. That's a way cool thing. Good for you. Again, like listeners, like knowing yourself, knowing what you're good at, knowing your like take the DISC analysis test, take the Myers-Briggs test, like these personality tests where I'm going to do that myself. I need to make a note of that. That's a great idea. So, know your strengths, know what you love to do. Like that's where you really want to be looking at, like, what do I like to do? What do I love to do? And how does that fit into one of those 4 roles that Camilla mentioned earlier? And those 4 roles again are essentially, these are my words, but deal finder, underwriter, capital raiser, operations / asset management. And I'll tell you, I'll just be straight. Like the 2 of those 4 roles are more valuable than the other 2. And that's the capital raiser and the deal finder. Those finding deals, finding dollars. Lance Edwards said it best. Like that's what this game really comes down to. Doing great operations and great asset management is huge. It's the 3rd leg of the tripod. It's massively important, and that's where the business plan happens. That's where the value gets added. That's where appreciation gets forced and whatnot. But yeah, you gotta nail that stuff. So. All right. So let's say, I know people in this situation right now that are listening and are thinking, yeah, I'm ready to go. Capital raising sounds great. I even know some people and I even have like a background in finance or a background in real estate or something like that puts them in a good position. What, like, is there kind of a step-by-step process that you'd recommend going through to that person?
Yeah. So here's what you do. I'm giving away all my secrets on your podcast.
Yep. Bring in the value, bring in the bombs.
Right. So step number 1 is, well, after you're educated, right? You need to be educated so you can speak to the product that you're selling, because essentially you're selling a product, right? You're selling an investment to an investor. So make sure you're educated and you know what you're talking about. After that, step 1 is what I did is I created a sample deal deck, right? So I created a deck that had a sample deal, that one that I would want to invest in. So before I became an active investor, I actually invested passively first myself to try it out, which I think everybody should do also, just so you can understand the mindset of a passive investor. You can understand what it's like on the other side. And you get your money working for you and get great tax benefits. I mean, we all need that, right?
Yeah.
So sample deal deck. Now,
and just to add, like, guys, you can do that for a lot less than you might think. Like, some syndicators are at 50 grand for a minimum investment. Some syndicators will go lower than that. And so you can be an LP in a deal, get all the tax advantages, the appreciation, the cash flow, everything else for a lot less than you think. And you're going to learn, like Camilla said, how an investor thinks, how operators think, for that matter, because you're going to get to hear their pitch. And if you're really smart and good, you'll like talk to their operators about learning from them along the way and being in on some meetings and stuff like that. So sorry, Camilla.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great way to learn, a great entry point into eventually becoming a general partner yourself. I recommend anybody to invest passively first.
Yeah.
Okay, so deal deck. Well, what do you do if you don't have a deal? Okay, you don't need a deal. You can just go on to LoopNet or Crexy and you can find an apartment complex on there, grab the picture, grab the details, go in and figure out. So after you've invested passively, or you can join other webinars and you can start learning what are the types of returns that are appealing to investors, right? So what's the IRR need to be? What is the cash on cash return need to be? Is there need to be a preferred return? Get all those metrics and you're going to put together a sample deal deck that will talk about the property, talk about the market. So which market are you going to focus in? You can't just be all over the place, right? If you're going to bring investors into the fold, you've got to be zeroed in on your criteria. How big is the asset? All of those things. You put together this sample deal deck and then you send it out to everybody you know. And it can just be simply an email if you don't want to call everybody, because that's a lot of calling. But you can send it out to everybody you know with the wording saying, hey, I'm super excited to be involved in real estate. And this is the next investment that I'm looking to invest in. And it's so cool because it's actually a group investment. So a bunch of us could invest together in this. Don't use the term syndication. That drives me crazy when people start out using the term syndication. Passive investors who've never invested in real estate, they have no clue what that word is. And guess what happens? If someone says a giant word to you, how does that make you feel?
Yeah, like confused mind says no. Yeah. Absolutely.
Right. Yeah. Makes you feel like an idiot. Like, I have no idea what they're talking about. So don't use the giant words. Use very simple language. So you're talking about this is a group investment and you could be involved. And what's even cooler about this is you don't have to be the landlord and you don't have to be the one finding the deal. You can simply invest your money. Just like you invest money in the stock market, you can put it in real estate instead. Here's the details on the deal. If I brought a deal like this to you, would you want to invest? Would you be interested in investing? Right. And then you're going to get a bunch of people be like, heck yeah. And a bunch of people are like, don't ever talk to me again. Right. And you're going to run the gamut, right? And other people in between. So once you get some positive responses from that deal, from the deal deck, you start building your email list, right? Or your database of investors. You start building this email list and when they respond positively and say, I think I'd be interested in that. You say, great. I'm looking for a property. I'm working with a team. Make sure you say team so that they know that you're not kind of a lone wolf. Working with a team. We're focused on this market. We think we might be able to have something in the next 6 months. I know you don't know if you're going to have something in the next 6 months. That doesn't matter, right? Just put 6 months. So there's a time frame. So, and then once a month, you email everybody who's on that list with an update. Here's what's happening. Here's where I've been looking. Here's the market data and market research that I have. I talked to 10 lenders and I talked to 20 brokers. Like whatever activity you are doing, you send them an update on your activity plus some information for them to understand passive investing more. So you're priming the pump, right? And you're prepping these investors. So when a deal is ready, They are invested in you. They trust you. They know that you're working hard to find something for them, and they're excited about the opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
And you do things like that, and there's we can go way deeper into how to continually to bring investors on, but that simple process, you will be able to raise money for sure.
Wow, guys. So, okay, couple things. When Camilla says a sample deck, what she's talking about is a pitch deck, which is basically a brochure that's usually, I don't know, 15 to 60 pages, depending on who puts it together. And like Camilla said, it's got information on the deal, the neighborhood, the market, rent comps, sales comps, demographics, tons of photos of the property, business plan, CapEx budget, all the things, right? If you want to see one of those, email me and I will send you one. One from a past deal that we've already closed. And email me at tate@glequitygroup.com, tate@glequitygroup.com. I will email you a pitch deck so that you can see what a great one looks like. And, we invest a fair amount in our pitch decks because they are key in what we do. And it's so important to put together something really compelling and really look sharp. And I'm pretty proud of the pitch decks that we put together and that are I've got a guy in the Philippines on retainer, and he does all of our graphics for us, and he is outstanding. He's amazing. Yeah. I mean, I couldn't ask for anything better, actually. So,
and Tate, just a quick tip on the sample deal deck. I actually wouldn't make it as long as regular deal decks, right? Because remember, you're sending it to probably first-time passive investors. They will not want to read a 60-page document that you send to them. So try to keep it around 5, with nice pictures, right? It should look very professional, but I would keep it simple for investors to just
more
be
of
able
a
to
summary. Yeah, that makes total sense. So kind of like more of a kit almost, or a summary, like a 5-6 page summary with all the important stats, pictures, the plan, the team. You want to get that in there. Who the important players are. But I mean, Camilla, you just gave everybody here a wonderful look into getting what it takes to get capital raising off the ground. And I would say this, I'm just going to add my own little thing here. I think having a lead magnet and or a click magnet or whatever you want to call it, which what I have is an ebook that you can download off of our landing page. Having that, that's something that you can continually refer people to, like a value add, like, hey, here's a little something about how to become financially independent through investing in real estate before you're 40 years old or something like that. There's all kinds of little things you can do, and having something systematized like that, where that's automatically feeding your CRM ideally starting a automated email campaign and is following up with people on a somewhat regular basis. And that's all something that you can have built for you. You can take courses. Michael Blanc has, don't get paid to promote his stuff, but he's got a wonderful program on what he calls platform building, which is essentially what I'm describing here. And there's other programs out there, but having that, I wish when I had started this podcast that I had our platform better built out and sleeker and doing its thing, because it's just a good thing when you're out being a thought leader, like you are, Camilla, to have a place to refer people to you that establishes you as somewhat of a thought leader, as an expert, right? Get you credibility and get you people trusting you and liking you and following you. So speaking of that, how do people get in touch with you, get on your list, and all that good stuff?
Yeah. So I just launched a new website, CamillaJeffs.com. So very easy to find me online. And then also I'm known on social as the introverted investor. So if you want to follow me on social, you totally can. And said, I mean, lead magnets are big, and I have a couple on my site too. And if you want to grab them, go ahead and grab them. Even if it's not because you want to invest passively with me, feel free to learn from me and learn about, and just grab the lead magnets so you can see what kind of content I'm producing and putting out. It's okay to borrow. Not plagiarize though. You can't plagiarize, just borrow.
Yeah, just borrow and like use it, like take anything you want of mine and use it. Just give me a little credit for it. Like, right. So CamillaJeffs.com, everybody go there. And I'm sure there's a way to sign up for your email list, subscribe there. And then I'm sure Camilla, I know that you're introverted, but I know that how much you love to help people too. So is it okay if people reach out to you? And
absolutely. Yep, absolutely. Right there on my website, you can contact me. You can, we can set up a call. We can, there's multiple ways to connect with me. Perfect.
Great. Well, what parting words of wisdom would you offer somebody that let's just paint the picture of somebody that is, let's say, I just had breakfast with these three guys yesterday in Charleston, South Carolina, and they're like 26 years old, and they're sharp, eager, ready to jump in and ready to quit what they're doing and just go all in on this. Don't really know what to do to get started. Now they do. Now they have a really good blueprint, but what wisdom would you offer somebody in that position?
Yeah. So the first thing you need to do, well, of course, is education and then network, right? So you've got to get to know other people in the business and in the industry. And I would actually look for someone who's just a couple steps ahead of you. Often those people have more time and can give you more of what you need rather than someone who's 100 steps ahead of you and who's big in the space. But definitely just start getting involved, right? Start joining meetup groups, get to know the people who are in the space. Because, to be honest, it's a pretty small network. It's not that many people who are out there doing these apartment deals. And so once you get to know the people and start talking to them, just find a way that you can add value. So here's a case in point. I had someone reach out to me who wants to learn about how to be a general partner in apartments. And I said, I was telling him the roles and all the things. And I said, which one of those roles do you think you'd be the best at? He said, well, I actually have some really good experience with spreadsheets. I love spreadsheets. So I said, perfect. Okay. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to go get an underwriting spreadsheet. I want you to learn it. And because I've got like 10 deals sitting in my inbox and I don't have time to underwrite those deals. And I said, and once you've learned, come back to me and, and let me know that you've gone through this, done it, right? He did it within a week. Within a week, he had purchased the software I'd asked him to purchase. He'd gone through all the videos. He had learned the underwriting and he's like, okay, I'm ready. And I'm like, okay. So I sent him those 5 deals that have been sitting in my inbox. And within a week, he had underwritten all 5 of them. So if you want to capture someone like, me or Tate's attention, that's how you do it, right? If we ask you to do something, you do it and you do it quickly and efficiently, and you come back and say, okay, I'm done, right? Like, what next? Yeah. And that now suddenly I know that I can count on this person, and I'm much more likely to involve him in a deal than I would someone else who just never got back to me or just took up my time just to take up my time and is not taking any kind of action.
Yeah. Well said. Yeah. And I love when, look, I will give like all the free advice in the world all day long. You can book Calendly appointments with me anytime. I'm available.
I think 5 days a week on Calendly. And I'll talk about it. Like, I'll give you golden nuggets, I promise, if you set those up. The only thing that I ask in return is that, like, you keep me posted. Like, come back and tell me how it went. Shoot me a text, shoot me an email, call me, set up another Calendly meeting and tell me what you're doing next. And, you know, I listened to the audiobook. What should I do next? Like, or you know, I reached out to this guy and I talked to 5 brokers, you know, or whatever. Like, keep us posted, because that way we can help you. And the gain for us in this is, like, I mean, for me, there's like authentic joy in seeing people succeed in this space and seeing people do what was challenging for me to do too. And, like, confront limiting beliefs just like I did. It's really inspiring for me to get to be a part of that. And so, like, make me a part of it. That's all I really ask. And yeah, if we can, by all means, if you can bring value in a way that that has us working together and partnering and doing deals together at some level, like, that's great. That's just all gravy. It's all good stuff. So, and, you know, look, like, Camilla and I are a great example of, you know, we didn't know each other, 6 months ago, Camilla?
No, yeah.
At least, like, so, and, you know, here we are, we were co-owners of 2 apartment communities in Oklahoma City together. Like,
yep.
That is real. That stuff happens. And that all is a result of Camilla doing what, you know, she just went through and said that, you know, outlined for you guys so well. And so hopefully you took tons of good notes, because this was a winner today, guys. Thank you, Camilla, so much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for the opportunity. It was great to spend time with you.
You bet. I'm really excited for your future, for our future, and for the listeners' future. I'm reminding listeners at the end of every episode, look, if you are listening to these and you're taking notes, you're engaged, you're listening to the end and staying fully in participation, like, you are doing the right things. You are on your way. This is part of that education piece that Camilla talked about being so important, but it's also part of the networking piece. Like, you just got to know Camilla and me, and you can reach out to us and network with us. Like, that's great. And I can tell you how to network with 80 other people on a Friday morning and where to go for that. Like, so, you know, it's all there, guys. Like, everything that you need to get this done is out there, and you have access to it directly. You have resources, and hopefully, you know, I think being resourceful in this space is, like, such a massive secret sauce. Like, resourcefulness is huge. So so on that, listeners, we'll let you go and look forward to being with you again next week on the Apartment Guys. Camilla, thank you once again. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
You bet. Take care, everybody.
Thanks for listening to The Apartment Guys with Tate Seamer. Tate and friends are grateful to have you as a loyal listener. If you like what you've heard, please subscribe, rate, review, and share with friends on your Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, or any other podcast platform. Also, check out Tate's YouTube channel for videos of many of these episodes and more. Until next time, take massive action steps and rock on.